Hi, this is Terry Draper from Klaatu.
I'm Brendan O'Hare. I used to be in Teenage Fan Club.
Hey, this is Tyler Green.
Owen Radford.
Tino Troy from Praying Mantis.
I'm Frankie Siragusa, and you're tuning in to Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio Show with Vinyl Man Jeb.
Hey everybody, this is your host, Vinyl Man Jeb of the Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio Podcast, Episode 2. We got Steve Butler with us. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing well, Jeremy. How about you?
Good. It was great seeing you at the Cutting Room. Thanks to Edward Rogers for inviting me up, and having Smash Palace open was insane. That must have been a really fun experience for you.
Yeah, it was. It's a lot of fun. It's a great room. I love playing in New York City.
Yeah, New York City is amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, I love Ed Rogers, obviously, working with him, and I've been a huge John Ford Straubs fan since I was a kid. So that was a real treat.
It must be real fun. He was sitting in the dressing room. I came down and saw him, and I was just like, "What do I do?" I love the Straubs just as much.
Yeah.
And then you came in with your Black Gibson, and it was like, "All right, this is home." So it was very cool.
Yes.
So what got you into music?
What got me into music? I think, from what I can remember, is that I've always been into music. And my mom was a musician and a songwriter. I grew up listening, and she liked music from her generation, but she also liked the music I was listening to. And then my older brother got in the band when the Beatles and the British Invasion thing hit. So it was always there, present. So I couldn't wait to get my hands on a guitar.
What was your first guitar?
That's a good question. It's I remember my brother had a friend who was he was a lead guitar player in his band, and he taught me to play guitar. And it wasn't like he'd be there every Tuesday or whatever. When he saw me, he would give me some tips, and he gave me a guitar, and I had no idea what it was. And then my dad bought me my first proper guitar, I think when I was 11, and that was a Stella 12-string guitar. Yes, a Stella was like the harmony was like the guitar that everybody was playing in the 60s, early 70s. It was like an inexpensive American-made guitar. But then they made an inexpensive harmony called the Stella. And the Stella 12-string was the same guitar that Leadbelly played.
Oh, wow.
I didn't realize that till way later on. I didn't know that when I was 11.
That must have felt cool after when you found out. It's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I recognize that sound.
Yeah. So what was your inspirations in music? Any particular artists that really, grinded the gears for you to get writing more and into the music?
I think, my earliest recollections of music was, probably being in my crib listening to Elvis Presley and Everly Brothers and stuff like that, because that's what my mom was listening to. And then, when the Beatles came out, I wanted to, even though I was kind of on the younger side, even playing an instrument at the time, I remember just loving it because my older brothers did. And so that was, I think that's kind of my musical DNA, the whole British invasion thing. And a lot of great American music, too.
Not a bad DNA to have.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a renaissance that was going on, I think, with rock and roll at the time. I mean, how profoundly music changed.
Yeah.
Between like 63 and 69. I mean, within 6 years, you went through so many different stylistic changes in music. Maybe it's just me, but I don't hear that happening today.
No, I don't either. I was just about to say that. You read my mind. I was just like, because, the Beatles came in around then, and it was like, changed everything. And nowadays, it feels like everything's just the same bland. Either it's the same, or they're remaking it, just like the movies that's going on. It's never really, I don't see any newer. And then when new comes up, I find it. I have to dig for it, and then I find it, and it's like it's worth that I dug for it, and I enjoy the bands like those. But not enough of them are out there, receiving Grammys as much as they should. But that's all rigged anyway, in my opinion. But
yeah, I don't really follow.
Yeah, same.
What what a Billboard top 10 chart looks like. I wouldn't know a hit record if I fell over it.
Yeah.
But like you, it's like I find music usually referred to me by friends and people I trust musically, and then through my own searching. So, but there is a lot of great music being made. And I in no way making this general dismissive remark.
Same here
about
too.
Today.
There's definitely a lot of really good music being made, and I'm finding that a lot of the artists from the past are making really great comeback records. And and it's insane that they're still around, and it's awesome. And that's why I love doing the radio show that I do, Unlikely Places, which I've played Smash Palace on for you, and it was just really cool to add you guys to the playlist of great tunes. And I love power pop. That's my go-to genre. And I just love that whole, all the people I've met through that, and just insane of all the love for music that these people have. It's perfect. It's awesome. How was Smash Palace formed?
Smash Palace came out of the remains of Quincy.
Okay.
So I mean, if historically I back it up a little bit, I was in a band called Quincy. We signed with Columbia Records, I think, in late '79.
Ooh.
And we were discovered by Hilly Crystal, CBGBs. So we were part of that whole power pop punk thing that was going on at the time. And it was a great record. It had a lot of really good music. Paul Atkinson from the Zombies signed us to Columbia.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of an interesting footnote. But unfortunately, the record came out, and we did a bunch of tours. We were playing all over. We played at the Whiskey in L.A., and Quincy Jones saw our name on a marquee and sued us.
Oh, wow.
For stealing his name. So it kind of put the kibosh on the band and that record. So because it just kind of froze in place.
I imagine that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a cease and desist order, so you couldn't really market the record. So we soldiered on for a little bit, but it just wasn't working out. And Brian and I left the band and formed Smash Palace. And then I guess about 18 months later, we got a record deal with Epic.
Ooh, wow.
And so that's our first record back in '85. Wow. So we've been together a long time. Yeah. And it's mostly been my brother and I. We're the songwriters. And although, occasionally the Smash Palace of today has input from other members on some co-writes and stuff like that. But, it's pretty much been our vehicle to get our music across.
Yeah, and I'm really enjoying all the albums. I bought, I think I bought everything that you had at the the NYC show. I was just like, I buy everything because my dad and I were talking about it, and we were like blown away. My dad's a huge power pop fan as well, so buying all those was perfect for us just to jam with in the car, and we've been addicted since. And then I put everything on my computer, and I lost my hard drive. I had to send that out to Seagate to get redone for the radio show. And I finally got a message that they're shipping it back. They found all the data, so I got all my songs back. But at least I had the CD. That's why I prefer physical much over. I was able to still do the radio show from CDs. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's a warning to everyone out there. Use external hard drives to back up.
Oh yeah.
Because I know people who have just recently, within the past week, even had an external hard drive, and that was the thing that.
The backup. Yeah, it was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had everything. That's what mine was an external hard drive, and it was like I didn't back it up fully, which is my fault. I should have backed it up to another drive, just not thinking. But it's like, at least I got it back. I was happy. And if I'm missing a few songs here and there, I can find them again. But it's better than missing thousands that I've had 10 years worth of music on there. And all the new stuff. And then when I do a radio show, it's like, that's how I make my playlist. I'm like, oh God, what do I do? But I was able to figure that out, which was good. You guys got a new album out, 21, which is exciting. What was the recording process behind that album?
It took place, we had cut a couple songs before COVID, and then COVID hit, and it was like, okay, this is going to, we're going to have to shut down for a while. And then when things kind of eased up, I guess it would have been like probably in early fall of 2020, we were able to get in and do some songs. We were, everybody was masked up. There's a very large recording studio in the town that I live. And so we were able to, most of us be separated, distanced. We knocked out probably half of it by then. And then we were contemplating putting out an EP, but then we go, now let's just keep going. So we went in the studio after everybody was vaccinated.
Yeah.
So once we got vaccinated, we went in, finished the record, and came out in July.
And it's personally a fantastic album. I love it. It's in my personal like top 10 as of the coming of just amazing music. And I was so glad to play it on the show. And we'll be playing more from it on the show and more of the stuff that I bought. Got to play it, but it will be coming. This week's episode was a special episode. Every 10 episodes, I do like a little on-air interview that's similar to the podcast to just kind of show what I'm doing. And since that was the first episode, it was like, who do I do this with? So I did it with a friend of mine who loves the Beach Boys. So we talked the Beach Boys, and then. Going forward, I might invite some of the following guests on Jeb and Green to come on, so it's all part of the fun. Mad Wasp Radio has been great to me, and it's just been exciting to be able to do what I do. And that's how I met Edward Rogers, was through an email sent to Mad Wasp, I think from Melanie. So it was perfect that it was just all worked out. And then I found out Edward's a radio host too, and he's also in the group chat that I'm in for another record label, so it was really cool. So it was like really fun to find that out. What was the inspiration behind the song "What Is Wrong with Me"? That is my personal favorite on that album.
That was a song that Brian and I had kind of worked out the way we usually work. Our writing process is he sits behind a drum kit, I got a guitar, we both have microphones. And so we always write together in person. Like, well, occasionally there's a couple things that I that do change, but mostly that's the way it goes. And then we come up with a hummable tune, a guitar lick, and we came up with that song. And we were like, "Wow, it's a really good idea, good melody, good beat." And then Brian came back a couple days later and had all the lyrics written. I mean, I think I might have added a line here or there, but I think most of it is just a reflection on the times that we live in, and I think it also has to do with getting older.
Yeah,
it's like
that's like kind of fit with What Happened to Us by Edward Rogers around that's why I played both together. I was like trying to decide on a set list here for the playlist for the show, and I was looking at themes because I always do themes, and I was thinking, well, I want to do something about the New York show. There's something that was magical for me to be able to go out of my comfort zone and go to New York City for the first time for a show. I've been to New York City before, but never for like the cutting room or any of that. So it's just very exciting to get on the train and go to do that. So there's a lot of inspiration behind that. And then I was like, well, you got to show the show. I got to show different songs. And I thought the theme would be perfect. It was What Happened to Us, and What Is Wrong with Me was perfect. And that's why I was like, that's a great mix.
Yeah, and they're both, and they both deal with the relatively same subject matter, but just from a different perspective.
Which is perfect. And that leads me right into the next question. How did you and Edward Rogers come about with Rogers and Butler? How did that come about?
I met Ed, I'm going to say 12 years ago. Because time flies by so fast.
It does.
It's like, I know. It's like I'm living in dog years. But I met him, and we were doing a gig at the Old Cutting Room.
Ooh.
And it was a showcase for Zip Records, which is a record label we both record with. And I walked over to Ed and introduced myself and said, "Hey, I'm a real fan of your music." And I said, "You remind me of someone." That I said, "I don't know anyone else who knows who this person is, because I've been listening to this record since 1969, and I've never met anyone who knows who he is." And I said, "It's an Englishman called Duncan Brown." And he goes, "Oh, I know Duncan Brown, and I know his music really well." And he told me a little bit about Colin Blunstone used to be his roommate. But anyhow, if you want to just a little heads up on something, there was a record he made called "Give Me, Take You."
Okay.
By Duncan Brown, with an E on the end of his Brown.
Yeah, like Jackson Brown type thing. Okay.
Yeah, and that record changed my life. It's one of my top
I will check
5 records.
Definitely.
And Ed was a super fan. So, and then we were in communication, always threatening to write together. "Let's write together, okay." One of those things. And then he sent me some music. He sent me some lyrics. And so when I looked at the lyrics, I was like, okay, yeah, I could, definitely wrap my head around this. And we wrote 20th Century Heroes.
I love that song.
Yeah, which appears on the Ed Rogers solo record.
Yeah, and that was cool hearing that live too. I was like I was so excited to hear that when he played it. I was like, yes, because it's one of my favorites when I started getting into him after I interviewed him. Because I usually interview people with like kind of less of a knowledge. It's part of my show's kind of mystique is supposed to be a fan trying to learn from the artist and not know everything. And I think, Steve, we talked a while ago back to have you on the Jeb and Greencast way back. It's just time passed so quickly. And it's just that the co-host I used to have started doing school again and started going to work, and we kind of split. And I decided I still want to do this podcast since I have my regular job and I have the radio. I still want to do this podcast, so we're still doing it. And I think we're going to be interviewing Cliff next month, and my partner's actually coming back, the co-host, to interview with him, which will be interesting because he's a big Cliff fan from Philly. So, do you have any favorite tour memories? And it's probably a lot, but any favorite ones?
Favorite tour memories?
Yeah, any shows?
Probably the biggest show that we ever did was an MTV Spring Fling on the beach in Daytona, Florida. And that was probably about 30,000 people. It was huge. I was funny. It's so funny you ask that because someone asked me, like, what was the most scary gig you ever did? Because, you know, I'm always nervous before I play. I know that feeling, I'm the anxious guitar player, singer. So, and I've always been.
That's me too.
Some people are like that, and so some people it's like nothing.
Yeah.
But I remember I had to do this. We come out, and the opening song has this like extended solo guitar intro. And I'm out there going, Lord, help me get through this 15-second thing that I got to do here. And so it was probably like, it was a bit unnerving, but got through it. And as Ed likes to say, no one died. And so, yeah, it was good. That'd probably be... And the other thing is you get to a point in your life where... you just forget the gigs. There's so many gigs. I have band members like from Quincy and early Smash Palace who will say, do you remember that time, we were hanging out with Frank Zappa in our dressing room for about half an hour and I'm like, no.
Oh,
like,
shoot.
How do I not
I'll be like, that's Frank. I'm a huge Zappa fanatic. I actually interviewed his sister. I'll have to send that to you. And just a lot of fun. And I will check out that album you mentioned as well, because you'll probably see it on the show. Maybe I'll play another Smash Palace song right next to it, too. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Just wanted to say thanks for coming on. I was very excited to finally get a hold of, to finally interview you, and actually to say that we've met in person, which is insane. I've never really met a lot of the guests I have on the show because it's all online. But to meet everybody, It was just an awesome night, and it was cool meeting like Sal Maida and James Mastro and all them as well. That was cool.
You looked like you were having a really good time.
I was. May Pang was insane. My dad was. I think my dad was. It's just something that you don't expect to get that close to the Beatles. Like that's as close as you could probably get unless you meet Paul and Ringo, and it's just like,
and you can't meet a kinder person. She's
super cool, and it was wonderful. It's something that I didn't expect too, and she was super. And then meeting you guys was really cool, and I bought Cliff's solo album before I left too. Make sure I got that. I didn't know it was there, and then he told me, and I was like, I'll buy that too. I'll buy everything.
Yeah,
and then it was just super fun, and thank you, Steve. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Steve Butler of Smash Palace. This is episode 2 of the Unlikely Places Pop and Rock podcast show, radio show. Little companion to it. You can check the radio show weekly Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT, a little British time there for you. And also, check out the podcast on YouTube, Unlikely Places, because there will be extra content going to YouTube as well. I believe if you just type in Unlikely Places and then put the name of this podcast in, Steve Butler, this will be out before it's on YouTube, so type John Povey instead. Either or, one of those will pick up with the other, don't get confused. Just to find that podcast. And subscribe to us on YouTube as well, helps us out on both ends. And thank you for listening to this on Anchor. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, well, then you're already there. So thank you. This is just for the Anchor side of it, just adding this in to the end of the podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy your evening, night, morning, whatever it is. This is Vinyl Man Jeb signing off.